Hello, and welcome to Epilepsy Awareness. My name's Alison Crispin, and I'm Senior Advisory Teacher for SEIZURES. The purpose of today's training session is to give staff a brief insight into epilepsy, to bring awareness of the different types of seizure there are, to identify what we as staff need to know, and identify what we as staff need to do. Before I start, I must state that this training is to raise awareness around epilepsy and does not constitute epilepsy training. Epilepsy training should only be delivered by a suitably trained healthcare professional. So what is epilepsy? This is an overarching term for a tendency to have seizures that start in the brain. The word for an epileptic event is seizure. You can develop epilepsy at any time, but is commonly found in comorbidity with other conditions like cerebral palsy, hemiplegia. Let's look at the different types of seizures. First of all, there are absent seizures or absences, previously called petit mal. So your typical absences are your blank, unresponsive stares that may last just a few seconds. These are quite common in children with epilepsy. You may also have atypical absences. These are very similar to the typical absences, but they start and end a bit slower and they last a bit longer. And you may see a slight change in muscle tone where the child or adult becomes limp or floppy. There are focal aware seizures, previously called simple partial seizures. The client is often conscious or aware and will often remember the seizure afterwards. They may describe themselves as feeling strange. Sometimes these are called warning or auras, as if they're a warning that another seizure may happen soon. There are focal impaired aware seizures, previously called complex partial seizures. So their consciousness of the client may be affected and they may become confused afterwards. Myoclonic seizures. Myoclonic means muscle jerks. They can be found in clusters, but the client may remain conscious. But this is another indication that they are likely to have other seizures. Tonic and atonic seizures. Tonic generally means stiff, atonic means floppy. With a tonic seizure, the client may fall backwards, and it is without warning that they are going to have a seizure. With atonic or a drop attack, the client may fall forwards, and again, they are not given any warning of this type of seizure. Then you have the tonic-clonic seizures, previously called grand mal. Some people with epilepsy can feel these coming on, but to begin with, they may start to fall unconscious, stiff, and cry out. During, we can observe jerking, a change in colour, change in breathing, and they may wet themselves. Afterwards, the client may feel tired, confused, but their colour and breathing will return to normal. Tonic-clonic seizures are what most people associate with epilepsy. So what do we need to know as staff? First of all, check their care plans. Do they have one? Are they on daily medication? This may be something that if you call an ambulance crew, they will ask you, so they know what medication the client is on. Do they have any emergency medication? If so, what type? The most common types are buccal midazolam, which is administered into the buccal cavity in the mouth, or rectal diazepam, which of course is placed in the rectum. It's really important that you know if a child is epileptic and has emergency medication. Emergency medication like buccal midazolam or rectal diazepam is classed as a controlled drug and therefore subject to the Misuse of Drugs Act. Best practice suggests it should be stored in its original cardboard box with the patient's details on it, so you know that the medication you are giving is for that client, with a copy of the emergency care plan, so you know exactly what to do and when, and kept in a lockable box. So a lockable box like with a key or number. I recommend using a box with the number, because what you don't want to do in the event of an emergency is not be able to find the key. Only trained staff should administer emergency meds. Staff are generally trained once a year to administer emergency medication and signed off for 1 year by someone like the school nurse. So what do we need to do? Time any seizures or record any pattern or trigger to their seizures. Regardless of the type of seizure they have, we're not expecting you to name it. Record what you saw. Ensure staff are familiar with the procedure on the care plan and it's always to hand. Even if a new member of staff starts with that child or client, make sure that they are familiar with the care plan and know where to look to find it. Ensure a copy of the care plan is stored with the emergency medication. You may have more than one client that requires emergency medication for epilepsy. What you don't want to do is get confused between different plans. So make sure the care plan is to hand so you know if they have emergency meds and when it should be administered. And you can follow that care plan with the medication to ensure that you are doing the right thing. Keep them safe during a seizure and stay with them. If they come round, they're going to be confused and they need to be reassured. Most importantly, follow the care plan. Follow it exactly. So if you want to know more about epilepsy, you can access the NHS website under Conditions for Epilepsy, or there are a couple of charities, Epilepsy Action or the Epilepsy Society, where you can find a lot more information about the type of research that's going on with this condition. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Goodbye.